Hi there, and welcome to K-Pop for Old People. My name is Norm.
My name's Ari.
And I am an old person.
I am not.
Very good. So, since this is K-Pop for Old People, we're going to talk about K-Pop.
Mm-hmm.
Who are we going to talk about this week?
We're going to talk about G-I-DLE.
G-I-DLE, that sounds interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Before we talk about G-I-DLE, what's new with you?
Not much really, just kind of doing the normal stuff.
Yeah, just the usual routine.
Yeah.
I get that. It has not been the usual routine for me because I just got back from a trip that I took with my band to a big music festival where we performed a lot and we had a lot of fun. But I am very tired now. And you can probably hear from my voice because I did a lot of shouting and singing and things that have made my voice very low and a little rough.
Mm-hmm.
But one thing I also did was when I was sitting in the airport waiting for my flight home today, I watched some K-pop videos.
Yeah.
Specifically ones from the group Red Velvet, which we discussed last week.
Mm-hmm.
And I would like to react to some of them now as we do.
Yeah.
So, the first Red Velvet song I listened to is Red Flavor.
Mm-hmm.
The thing that stuck out to me about that song initially was the when they actually say Red Flavor in the song. It's not the group saying Red Flavor. It's like a voice, but it's not the voice of one of the members of the group. It's like a weird like
AI kind of voice.
Yeah, it sounds like the kind of voice that an AI would make if it was trying to make a human voice, but it
wasn't quite there.
Yeah, you know how like you see those pictures where like that an AI created where it looks like a person, but then you look at the hands and the hands are all weird.
Yeah.
It's like that, except the voice.
Nobody can really draw hands very well, except for like really, really talented artists.
Hands and feet are hard to draw.
Yeah.
Just ask Rob Liefeld, creator of Deadpool. He's not good at drawing feet. It's a thing. Search it on the internet. You'll see it. Anyway, yeah, so it was weird the way that came out. I'm sure it was an intentional, choice, but it sounded weird to me.
Yeah.
And then the video for that song is also weird.
Yeah. At
least I think so, because it seemed to me, my interpretation of it at least, was that the theme of the video or whatever, the story of the video is it looked like all of the members of the group were, I guess, giving a job interview to a giant fruit.
Yeah. It's very weird. Why would you need to give a job interview to a giant fruit? What is that pineapple going to do for you? Other than for you to eat it?
That is a great question, and it would seem like the fruit would be sentient, so it would be maybe unethical to eat it, and also it's very large and probably able to defend itself, much larger than any of the girls in the group.
I mean, yeah, the pineapples have like the big spikes so they could headbutt you.
Pineapples as a fruit generally are surprisingly aggressive for an inanimate object.
Yeah.
They do their best to fight back, both with their pointiness and the fact that they're very acid, and so they try to digest you while you are eating them. But also just so delicious.
Yeah.
So, sorry, pineapples.
It's
We're humans. We win.
It's like how peppers evolved to be spicy so people wouldn't eat them, but people eat them because they're spicy.
Yeah, that backfired.
Yeah.
Nice try, evolution.
Even bell peppers people still eat. And they're not spicy.
Not at all. And I eat them regularly. But one could argue that because we now cultivate these plants for our use, that we have made them thrive much more than they would have in the wild. So I guess they win after all. Nature wins in the end every time.
That's not really K-pop related, though.
Not whatsoever. Anyway, back to Red Flavor. So it seemed like each member of the group had a specific fruit assigned to them associated with them.
I wonder how they chose different fruits for each other. Did the person themselves choose them? They just randomly picked?
Yeah, that is a good question. I kind of wondered that as well. In what way did they find themselves associating with these fruits? Or maybe the video director is just like, guess what? You're talking to some grapes today. So do your best to look like you're having a conversation with a fruit. Yeah, so I guess I don't know. I mean, that song was okay, but I guess it didn't really knock my socks off. The song that did knock my socks off, so to speak, was the next song I listened to, which is Russian Roulette.
Yeah.
That, of all the songs I listened to, is hands down my favorite Red Velvet song. I did enjoy that one.
Do you like it better than Get Up?
Oh, no. No. And I should, like, in the ongoing saga of me and New Jeans, I should say, like, Get Up is great, but I don't know if it's the association with the video specifically, but I think my New Jeans jam might be Cool With You.
Ooh.
But to be fair, I also had Super Shy stuck in my head the other day, but that we already talked about that.
I could teach you some choreography if you want.
Well, maybe we'll have to try that out.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're not talking about New Jeans anymore.
Yes.
We're talking about Red Velvet currently on our way to G-Idle, but we'll get there.
Yeah.
So Russian Roulette. I really enjoyed that song. It kind of hooked me right from the beginning when it comes in and it's got sort of a chiptune vibe.
Yeah.
Like sort of a video gamey kind of quality to it. Throughout, I guess, sort of a synthesized sound. And I like video games, so I think that's part of what I liked about it. I mean, it's a catchy tune, but also, like, it's got some of those chord changes in there that I like. Like, I want to be clear, I'm not saying it's a yacht rock song. It's definitely not a yacht rock song, but it has some sort of yachty sort of chord changes.
Yeah.
Which I appreciate.
Yeah, I listened to the instrumental version of NMIX's Roller Coaster, and I heard what you were talking about with the yacht rockiness.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I appreciate that you recognize that because, like, I mean, it adds a layer of interest that doesn't necessarily happen. Like in Red Flavor, for example, it was just like a pretty straightforward pop song that, like, that's why it didn't really stand out to me. It sounded like a lot of other songs that it didn't really distinguish itself from. But so those were kind of the things that I noticed when I was just listening to it. And then I watched the video. But when I went to watch the video on YouTube and searched it up, I noticed that there was a video pointing out that song, Russian Roulette, had been used in the motion picture Trolls World Tour.
Yeah.
Which is not a motion picture I have seen.
Yeah. I was aware that they played the K-pop Trolls, but I didn't remember them, like, actually playing the song.
Yeah, because I watched the video, and it was the clip of that part of the movie in which the K-pop trolls were having a dance-off with some other trolls of a different style. I think maybe reggaeton trolls? Don't quote me on that. Again, I haven't seen the movie, and I watched like a 30-second video earlier today when I was very tired in an airport. But yeah, in the course of the dance-off, what the K-pop trolls were dancing to was like a 30-second clip of Russian Roulette.
Yeah.
Which I think was a good choice.
Yeah.
Because as I've said, this is my favorite Red Velvet song of the limited sample size that I have.
Yeah.
But when I actually watched the video, there were a few things that stood out to me there from like the visuals of it all. One of them was, so let me actually back up and say like the theme or the like concept of the video was Red Velvet trying to murder people. But like
the other members.
Yeah, like, but not like they weren't showing murder. Like, I should also say, like, when we talked about Red Velvet in the past, and you mentioned that they had sort of a sinister vibe. Like, I guess in my head, what I had imagined from that was that they're like more goth, but that couldn't be further from the truth.
Yeah,
like,
they're very colorful
and bright, and not at all like dark and dreary. But like you said, there is sort of a spookiness, not in a goth way, but like in more of a like something's off here kind of way. Because like even in the video when they're doing all the regular K-pop video stuff where they're dancing and they're singing and when they're showing those parts of it, everybody's smiling and
Yeah.
being all
Like, normal, I guess.
I guess normal is a word you could use. But then, like, there's the scenes where they never show anybody being killed. Of course, that would be over the top. But they do show, like, the setup.
Yeah, like they imply that they
exactly
got killed.
Like, they show, like, a refrigerator dangling over someone's head, and then, like, it's going to be released, but they don't show, like, anybody actually getting squished.
Yeah, like right before it hits the ground or something.
They cut away. Same thing, like, they're pushing somebody into traffic, but they cut away before the car hits anybody or anything. They also had clips in there of a cartoon cat and mouse doing similar, like, trying to kill each other kind of things, which looked very much like Itchy and Scratchy from The Simpsons.
Yeah. The cartoon inside of a cartoon.
Yeah. So, like, for those who aren't aware, Itchy and Scratchy is the cartoon that the Simpsons children, the characters in The Simpsons, watch on TV. And it's sort of like a parody of violent cartoons in the way, like, the Looney Tunes would be. There was, like, a lot of comedic violence, or, like, Tom and Jerry had comedic violence where, like...
You know, like, they set off a bomb, and instead of, like, them actually dying, they, like, turned into dust.
Right. Yeah, like, nobody ever suffered any permanent damage. But
and then, like, a minute later, they're back again.
Yeah. So, like, on The Simpsons, Itchy and Scratchy would try to kill each other, and often do so in very graphic ways.
Yeah.
But the ones in this video... They weren't exactly Itchy and Scratchy. They looked very, like, it was clear that they made it that way to imply, like, to refer to Itchy and Scratchy, but, like, different enough that they wouldn't get sued.
Yeah.
And, like, the other creepy thing that I thought was when they're showing the members of Red Velvet planning their killings, they have, like, these completely emotionless, expressionless faces that are...
Yeah.
Like, creepier than if they... Like, you would think if they were, like, trying to kill each other over, like, a boy or whatever...
They'd have, like, kind of a sinister face or something.
They would be, like, angry at each other or something like that. But they're, like... It's way creepier that they show, like, no emotion whatsoever.
But, like, I think it would definitely be better if they were doing, like, the really wide, uncanny smile while staring directly at the camera with no blinking, because that's just weird. That's not very normal for humans.
Indeed.
Because it's like, they're smiling, yeah, but there's just something kind of off about it. And also they're staring directly in the camera and then, like, pushing somebody into the traffic.
Yeah. I think, now that I think about it, it's, like, sort of a spectrum, right? Like, if you were angry at someone and trying to kill them and they showed it that way, that would be sort of understandable.
Yeah.
But when it's, like, emotionless... It makes it almost, like, robotic and and uncanny in a way. And then, like, if you went as far as that, where they're smiling and seem almost happy about it, then that, like, goes over into, like, sort of an evil.
Yeah, evil and, like, these guys are maniacs.
Right, that might be a little too far.
Yeah.
But I agree that it would be super creepy.
Yeah.
And then there's one other thing I noticed in the video that I wanted to mention, because I'm an old person, which is that at some point... They show them playing this string-based game, Cat's Cradle, which I just mentioned because I'm an old person, and so I used to play that when I was young because there weren't as many things to entertain yourself with, so you had to play with string.
Yeah.
I don't know. Do you know how to play Cat's Cradle?
No.
I think I tried to show you kids when you were younger, but you didn't have the fine motor skills yet to master it yet, so maybe we'll try that again sometime. When we're... not entertained by everything around us.
Yeah.
Also have some string handy. So anyway, I did enjoy Russian Roulette.
Yeah.
The next song that I listened to, not technically a Red Velvet song, 28 Reasons.
Yes.
That is a solo song.
Yes.
And you can remind me of what her name is?
Solgi.
Thank you. Part of it is that I didn't write it down, and part of it is I remember that even if I had written it down, I probably wouldn't have pronounced it correctly anyway.
Yeah.
I found that one interesting because as a solo song, like, it gives people the freedom to, like, express their individuality, right?
Yeah.
And this one was a little gothier.
Yeah.
It was a little darker, like
Yeah.
literally like muted colors, gray,
Yeah.
monochrome.
And occasionally red.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of their thing, right? They got to get the red in there. It's
Yeah.
right there in the name.
But like for being called Red Velvet, I have been seeing like kind of a more bluiness in them, I guess.
Like in their color schemes?
Yeah. Like I just see a lot more blue than I see red.
Well, this is a little bit of a tangent, but I didn't listen to the whole song, but I did watch a little bit of the video for Zimzalabim.
Oh, yes.
Because
I was telling you about the
you mentioned
outfits
like how
that are just it's just so bad.
How much it angered you.
Yeah.
These outfits, so I had to see like how these outfits looked that made you so mad, and I watched it. I watched part of it. Honestly, I didn't watch it the whole way through, but enough to see the outfits they were wearing, and I thought, okay, I understand why you, a person who has a very specific sense of style, didn't care for these outfits.
Yeah.
To me, they didn't make me angry, but I mean, it's not something I would have worn necessarily. Yeah. Anyway, that was just an aside. Back to 28 Reasons.
Yeah.
One thing I wanted to note about that was not only did we not find out all 28 reasons, I don't think we heard a single reason.
Yeah. Also, the first line in that song is "I kiss your brother," which is just kind of a weird line. 'Cause especially if they're like singing to their ex-lover or just lover in general.
Yeah. I suppose it could be like
yeah, that's just
a
kind of a
thing.
Yeah, kind of a weird line in general.
Yeah. So, I mean, it was an okay song. I have noticed that when I listen to the solo songs from some of the groups we talk about, they definitely are making a conscious choice to be stylistically distinct.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
There's some bands who, like, when the lead singer goes solo or whatever, it just sounds like the same band.
Yeah, except there's only one of them.
Right. I like it when you can see why they chose to go solo.
Yeah.
Other than just to make all the money and not have to split it 5 ways. And then you also mentioned how at the end of the video there was a
message, I guess.
Yeah, a paragraph of text, which it does not stay on the screen long enough for you to read.
You could pause
So I
the
definitely
video.
did pause it.
Yeah.
I went back and so I could read it. I actually wrote it all down because I thought I would like to discuss it a little bit.
Yeah.
If you're willing.
Sure.
So I will recite what I wrote down at the end of the video. It's after the song.
Yeah.
It's just a black screen with red text, because red.
I guess. That's also kind of the color scheme of the thing.
It says, good and evil people are not clearly distinguished. Good and evil coexist within one person. Even if one seems good, greed and temptation always exist together inside. We simply try to resist from being captivated by evil.
Ooh.
Yeah. Thoughts?
It's pretty cool, I guess.
What do you think's cool about it?
I mean, it's just, I don't know, it's pretty cool. I don't really know how to describe how it's cool.
Okay. Well, I guess my takeaway from it initially was I don't disagree with the first part, at least. Like, I don't think that anybody is completely good or completely evil.
Yeah.
Everybody's got good things and bad things about them. I'm not a person who subscribes to the concept of, like, an evil person generally. You know, people make good choices and people make bad choices, but, like, everybody's making choices based on what their own desires are, which I guess speaks to the next part about having greed and temptation, and that we try to resist it. So, like, I guess on the surface, it seems like they're saying it's normal to have thoughts. It's normal to have, like, immoral thoughts, maybe, but it's how you act that matters.
Yeah.
I agree with that. But the way that they frame it, it makes it seem more like it's a little bit more focused on the evil than the good.
Yeah.
Still wish I knew what the 28 reasons were, though.
Yeah. The 28 reasons for what, too? Or of what?
If I recall correctly from the lyrics, it was that she said something about 28
reasons to run away.
To run away. But like I said when we talked about it last time, there's lots of songs where they have a number of things and they don't enumerate that number of things.
Yeah.
So I'm not surprised that I didn't find out the 28 reasons.
Yeah, earlier I saw your notes and I saw 28 problems scratched out and then reasons.
Yeah, because it made me think of 99 Problems.
Yeah.
Okay, so the last song from Red Velvet that I listened to was Birthday.
Mm-hmm.
And that one kind of took me by surprise. First of all, I'm not surprised that it's a song about a birthday because
Yeah.
from a strictly commercial point of view, if you can write a song about a birthday or about Christmas or about some other kind of like annual occurrence, a holiday, anniversary, whatever, and that song breaks through, then you're going to be making money every year for the rest of your life because people are going to listen to that song on birthdays. Or, I mean, birthday's even better than Christmas because, like,
Yeah.
Christmas songs you'll hear for like 1 month out of the year.
But
People have birthdays every day of the year. So you could be...
And multiple people have the same birthdays.
Yeah. So from that perspective, like, pro tip to aspiring songwriters, write a song about a birthday, and if you can make it work, that could be your meal ticket for a while. But
Speaking of birthdays and K-pop, a little fun fact about me is I know how to sing Happy Birthday in Korean.
oh, that's always good. Well, that's
Yeah.
the thing, though, right? Is that there already exists, like, the dominant
Yeah, like
birthday
the song Happy Birthday or whatever it's supposed to be called.
I believe it's called Happy Birthday.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to get into the history of it, it was originally called Good Morning to You. Or it might be called Happy Birthday to You. That might be the full title. Don't fact check me on that. Or do, but don't write me.
Yeah.
Well, write me, but not about that.
Yeah.
But anyway, the song itself took me off guard right from the beginning because it starts out with a sample of a recording of Gershwin's Rhapsody in Blue, which is a song that everybody's heard probably a million times. Never occurred to me to be the hook for a pop song, though.
I don't recognize that song by name.
You don't recognize...
No.
Well, okay, so that's fair. You might not recognize it by name. I mean, it's a whole orchestral piece.
Yeah.
So Gershwin, I happen to know a little bit about, if you'll indulge me. So Rhapsody in Blue was, I think, debuted in the late 20s or early 30s, 1920s or 30s, I mean, of course. And it was a time when jazz had just sort of become established as the dominant popular form of music, but it was very much looked down upon still by classical musicians.
Yeah.
And so George Gershwin wrote a ton of songs that people, at least people of my age, would know, but are just like considered standards. So like Fascinating Rhythm. I'm trying to think of other song titles off the top of my head. There's like a bunch of them, but I'm not going to stress my brain to think of them all right now. But like Fascinating Rhythm, for example, is considered such a jazz standard that the chord changes for Fascinating Rhythm are like referred to by jazz musicians. If they want to like just jam on something or just improvise over something, then they might say, let's do rhythm changes, which is like, we're just going to use the chord changes from the song Fascinating Rhythm and then improvise over the top of that. So it's like, he's a really big deal in the jazz world, but even bigger than that was the fact that he wanted to combine the schools of thought of jazz and classical. So he wrote this piece for a classical orchestra called Rhapsody in Blue. Blue referring to like the blues, you know, the style of music. And it's one of the songs that's featured in the Disney movie Fantasia. And so like, I don't know, it just seemed like an odd choice for a sample for a K-pop song.
Yeah.
Or any pop song for that matter.
Yeah.
And it's not just that intro, like that same motif, theme comes back throughout the song, like in the choruses and stuff. So that's cool.
Yeah. When I heard that, it made me think of the Fantasia thing.
Yeah.
Because I've seen that so much, because I'm pretty sure that was one of my favorites out of them.
Yeah.
But yeah, for some reason that song also scared me at the same time, and I don't know why.
Yeah, I can see how that might be. It goes a lot of places, and especially when you pair it with like in Fantasia with all of the different
Yeah.
visuals. But in terms of a song about a birthday, it's kind of weird because, like,
Yeah.
it doesn't talk about the birthday so much as it just, like, refers to the fact that a birthday exists, not, like, saying happy birthday to you. I mean, it's like they talk about, I think, getting lit or whatever, you know, which is, I suppose, a birthday thing to do if you're
of age, I guess.
a person of a particular age, which is older than you and younger than me.
Yeah.
But, like, in the video, they're not doing anything specifically birthday related. They're more fighting against big weird monsters.
Yeah.
And there's all sorts of strange things going on in there, which, you know, like, from a, like, sort of surrealist perspective, I appreciate.
Yeah.
There's a giant kitty cat.
Yeah.
It looked like they were trying to reference Edward Scissorhands in there.
Yeah.
Are you familiar with Edward Scissorhands?
Yes.
Okay. I don't think you've probably seen that movie, have you?
No.
Okay.
I don't think I will, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. It's fine. It's an early Tim Burton
Movie. But yeah.
But the other thing that stuck out to me about that video was, like, there was another scene in which the five of them were standing in a pentagram of, like, candles. And we just talked about that happening a little bit ago in, what was it? It was a Le Seraphim video.
When did that happen in a Seraphim video?
It was...
what song?
It was in the Japanese version of Unforgiven.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's right.
Because the Korean version was Western themed and the Japanese version seemed more witchcraft themed. And I said that it looked like a scene from the movie The Craft from the 90s.
Which I have not seen.
Which you have not seen.
Yeah.
But it's about teenagers who try to be witches. I mean, they succeed in being witches, spoiler alert, but, like, it's not that big of a spoiler because it's called The Craft. It's about witchcraft.
I'm pretty sure I've recently was being criticized, I guess, for, like, their new teasers for their new album and, like, songs like that. I was criticized for apparently copying Red Velvet's Birthday. So there are some similarities in the teaser and the birthday music video.
Similarities... Like visual similarities?
Yeah.
Or
usually
the song?
Visuals.
Oh, okay. Well, you know, parallel thinking, but I guess I'll have to wait until I maybe see that video.
Yeah.
To make any judgments. Anyway, we talked a long time about Red Velvet.
Yeah.
But that's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about G-I-DLE.
Mm-hmm.
So tell me about G-I-DLE.
The first thing that I want to say is, like, a lot of people just say idol, which I think is wrong because, G-I-DLE themselves have said G-I-DLE, and also what's the G for if it's not supposed to be pronounced? Because, like, the G has a meaning. The whole name has, like, a meaning.
Oh,
because in Korean it'd technically be 여자 idol because 여자 is girl in Korean, so it's technically girl idol because I've written down what the name means.
Hit me. Yeah.
Yeah, the G is for girl. The I is like individual and like their individuality and like they're different people.
Mm-hmm.
And the DLE, aka DLE, is Korean suffix for like plural. So all of them have different personalities, but they're all like one thing, I guess. But they all have their own
that makes
personalities.
sense. So like they're individuals, but they're also a group.
Yeah.
That are, you know, have a common goal or whatever.
Yeah.
They share a identity in that way.
And also another thing is like people spell it just like GIDLE.
Yeah.
But you're actually supposed to write it down as, in parentheses, G, then I, hyphen, DLE.
Oh, there's a hyphen in there, too.
Yeah.
I guess that makes sense.
Because that, like, separates the I, meaning, like, me.
Right. And then, do you think that's also, like, a pun on idol, like K-pop idol?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, that would make sense to me.
But they have 5 members. From oldest to youngest, they're Mion, Minnie, Soyeon. Is a thing about this. It's her name is spelled, because it's a girl group, her name is spelled YUQI. So tell me how you think that's pronounced.
So that's a good question. As I've stated before, I don't know anything about Korean.
She's not Korean.
Okay, is she Chinese?
Let me see what I put down in my notes. Yes, she is Chinese.
Okay, so that gives me a little bit of a clue, because I don't know hardly anything about Chinese either, but I know a little bit, and I know enough that I have an understanding that the Romanized letter Q is supposed to represent the sort of CH sound when spoken. So spell it again for me. Yuqi. So my guess would be Yuchi.
Nope.
Okay.
Oogie.
Oogie.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
It's so funny asking people how they think it's pronounced, and they just say something like Yuki or what you just said.
Yeah.
But they're wrong. It's just funny trying to see people pronounce it. Because it's kind of a difficult name.
Yeah, it is. And
even
also,
though it's only 4 letters.
I mean, I'm sure she's a lovely person.
Yeah.
And I don't want to criticize her name, because I'm sure it's a lovely name, and it probably has a very lovely meaning. I'm not trying to say that it's a silly name. It sounds a little silly to me, but that's because I have a certain association with... So I'm a fan of terrible movies. I'm a fan of good movies as well. But I'm a fan of both ends of the spectrum. And I have seen a movie called The Oogie Loves, which is a exceptionally terrible movie.
Yeah. Sometimes the reason why it's so good is because it's terrible.
Yeah, precisely.
It's like with the quality of the Gremlins in the Gremlins movie.
Yeah.
They're kind of bad, but it's a really popular movie.
Interesting that you made that particular choice, but
I don't know why.
No, that's fine. Like, it's interesting to hear your perspective, because like when that movie came out, of course, that was like about as good as you could make a gremlin look.
But also that's like my standards from now, where there's like really advanced CGI and like dinosaurs and stuff.
Yeah. There's been dinosaurs for a long time now.
Yeah.
And now you can make almost anything look real.
I bet if like you showed somebody from like when movies were first like invented and like actually popular, I guess, if you showed them a movie from today, they would like have a heart attack or something.
Yeah, I mean, especially like you hear the stories of the people seeing the very original screening of films when they were like 30 seconds long, because that's as much film as they could expose at one time. And there's the story about the film of the train coming at the screen, and then people got scared because it looked so real that they thought an actual train was going to hit them. Anyway, back to G-Idle.
Yeah. The last member, which I forgot to mention, was Shu Hua, who's most of them are actually like over half, because you can't really split 5 in half without cutting a person in half, but that's not good. You shouldn't cut people in half.
You probably shouldn't cut people at all unless you're like a licensed surgeon. Yeah,
unless you're like doing surgery or something like that. But the foreign members are Minnie, who's from Thailand, Oogie from China, and Shu Hua from Taiwan.
Oh, okay.
But
so they're from all over East Asia.
Yeah. But the rest of them are South Korean.
Sure.
They actually have an ex-member who I believe was kicked out for like bullying reasons or like allegations or something like that.
It seems like every time you mention that somebody has left a group, you've said it's because they were accused of being a bully.
Yeah, and like sometimes it might be true, but like not always.
Well, let that be a lesson to everyone that
don't bully people. If you want to be a K-pop idol, don't bully people.
Maybe just don't be a bully in general. It's
just don't bully people. But yeah, her name is Sujin. She is South Korean, so that makes it kind of equal, I guess, with the foreign to South Korean members. But yeah, she got kicked out on March 2022.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that's somewhat recently.
Yeah, did you say when they debuted? I didn't recall.
Oh yeah, I forgot to say that. May 2nd, 2018.
Oh, okay.
With the song La Ta Ta.
La Ta Ta.
Why did I say it like that? It kind of sounded robotic. I wrote down that their most song was Queen Card, but I believe it is actually I Want.
Oh, since you've taken notes, they've had another song come out?
I haven't actually listened to I Want yet, but like I've heard things of like them trying to diss LE SSERAFIM, because it was something along the lines, because it was a misheard lyric. It was something along the lines of like either it started with "I want," either something about not wanting or wanting remixes, not something about Seraphim, like La Seraphim. But it wasn't true, and I'm pretty sure the reason why people thought that was because La Seraphim did so many remixes of their song Eve Psych and the Bluebeard's Wife, and so they were like dissing them for like having so many remixes of one song.
So that's interesting.
Yeah.
Is that a thing that happens? Are there like rivalries between groups or between companies?
Not usually.
It didn't seem to me like it didn't.
And
occur
not by
to me
the
till-
groups themselves. Usually just the fan groups that are the problem.
Oh yeah, I guess that makes sense.
Like for example, Blackpink and BTS, or technically Blinks and ARMYs, are like being all competitive because it was like originally they were like perfectly fine with each other, like they were friends and stuff, but like they have all these controversies about like them being dating or something. And so people despise each other now for some reason.
I mean, it is interesting to think about because I know that controversy sometimes gets attention, and I guess I wanted to say sells records, which I understand isn't the thing that people really do anymore, but maybe gets streaming airplay or whatever. And given that K-pop is such a company-driven genre, it wouldn't have surprised me to hear that, like, in the same way that we talked about how they have, like, fictional narratives.
Yeah.
One of those fictional narratives could be, like, some kind of controversial, like, beef between groups or companies or something like that, in the way that, like, American hip-hop groups sometimes rappers have beefs against other rappers, which may or may not be based on anything real. It might just be
for funsies.
Well, or to create a narrative to get people interested.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, the classic example, of course, is Biggie and Tupac, who that went as far as, like, they both ended up getting literally killed. I don't know that it was necessarily because of that, because both of those murders are unsolved, but like the reality, of course, was that Biggie and Tupac knew each other and considered themselves colleagues and friends. Anyway, back to G-I-DLE.
Yeah. They're under the company Cube Entertainment, which is kind of famous for like letting their groups do like pretty much whatever they want, which is like pretty cool for K-pop groups because most of them have like constant security on them and like can very rarely do whatever they want. Their fan group is called Neverland.
Oh, okay. Neverland. Do you know why?
No.
Okay. Do they have some sort of Peter Pan connection?
Not really.
It would seem odd because you haven't stated so explicitly, but I remember us talking about it in the past that they have sort of a feminist
girl crush.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about girl crush for sure, but like, it seems to me like from what you've said before, like they were more demonstrative about like their feminism than some of the other girl crush groups that we talked about. A
lot more specific and like kind of a lot more in your face.
Yeah. You know, the reason, of course, that I referred to Peter Pan was because Neverland was the place that Peter Pan lived in the story of Peter Pan. But that is a very explicitly not feminist story.
I mean, they're called the Lost Boys.
And the only girl is Wendy, who was basically
kidnapped
required to be their mother, which is a weird thing, but that's a whole other story. We can't go down that rabbit hole. We've already gone down enough rabbit holes.
But yeah, I just kind of wanted to show you the logo for them.
Sure.
Try reading that.
It is a very difficult... I mean, it's graphically distinct.
Yeah.
So, like, if you're listening at home, go Google... What should they Google?
G-I-DLE logo.
It's definitely...
Let's see, there's the Neverland version.
Interesting. It's got sort of a castle-y thing going on. But it doesn't look like those letters. Like, I can see an I.
Yeah, that one's like the most obvious, though.
But then again, maybe it's something that makes more sense in Korean characters.
Doesn't look like Korean characters, at least from what I can read. I've never encountered any Korean characters that look much like that.
Well, you would know more than I.
Yeah. More things, but like they're kind of more extreme girl crush concept, I guess. Is like most of their like more recent-ish songs have like meanings, I guess, to them.
Okay.
Like, for example, Queen card is like, love yourself, be confident in your own body, because like the start of it is Soyeon goes to get plastic surgery because like she doesn't like her face and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so then when she's under anesthesia or whatever, she has all these dreams, I guess, of like her and the other members like being all beautiful and stuff. And like, so after that, in the end, she wakes up and then runs out of the place before actually getting the surgery. And their song Nude is like about, speaking out against like sexual harassment and stuff like that, and like men being inappropriate.
Yeah.
And like the whole song was like, or the whole music video was like Marilyn Monroe themed, which a lot of people were like talking about how like it's like related to Soojin, because Soojin really likes Marilyn Monroe. And so like they have this little animated character that like you probably wouldn't really be able to tell who it was, because it didn't have like very many like characteristics that you would like be able to pinpoint who exactly that was, because it wasn't really Marilyn Monroe, but people thought because of like this mole, I believe, that they had, it was supposed to be Soojin in like the costume if she was still in the group.
I see.
And also in the song Tomboy, they open up the trunk of a car to show 6 balloons to be the 6 members. But in that time, there was only 5 of them. So the 6th one was Soojin. So it shows that they still care about her even if she's not there.
Oh.
But yeah, and the song Tomboy is about like being yourself and how like men can't control them and they're independent women and stuff. And in the end of the song, they're like talking about the term tomboy, and they say it's neither man nor woman, which I would disagree. It's mostly just a more masculine woman.
Yeah, I don't know. How do you feel about the term tomboy, personally?
I've never really used it.
Yeah, that term feels a little outdated to me now.
Yeah.
Just because of the big changes that have happened in the language that we have around gender now.
Yeah.
I don't begrudge anybody using that to self-describe if that's what they want to.
Yeah.
But my advice to you, not you specifically, Ari, but you, the listener, speaking to you as an old person who is trying their best to learn about things, as we do here, my suggestion would be probably don't call people that unless they tell you that they want to be called that.
Yeah.
It's probably best to just like let that one become a historical artifact.
But yeah. And so like their whole thing is like, bringing power to women.
Yeah.
And like saying things like, you don't need a man to be amazing because you're amazing already.
Yeah.
Which is like kind of a big change from their concept earlier, which was like, generic girl group, but not like cutesy, just like kind of normal pop songs.
Oh, so they...
like more American pop songs-ish.
You think that they sort of evolved that over time?
Yeah, I guess.
Okay. I mean, that's cool. And it makes sense, especially if they started in 2018.
Yeah.
Because that, I guess, was probably... I don't remember exactly, but it seems sort of concurrent with, like, the Me Too movement and all that, which would fit in with, from my understanding of what you're telling me, sort of what they're talking about.
Yeah. Because, like, this is kind of more recent because the song Tomboy, I believe, came out in 2022, which is, like, kind of where, from what I've seen, like, started their thing. Or, like, maybe it was a bit before that. I don't remember.
I was just curious. I wanted to hear your opinion. I know that we've talked a little bit about this, but in K-pop there seems to be a lot of performative feminism, while there's still also a fair amount of pressure being put on female groups.
Yeah.
So
there's
that's
also
kind of a conflict.
There's also like the thing of where sometimes the company sexualizes their
exactly,
idols.
which is sort of contradicts that,
yeah,
right?
it's not okay.
But also, like, there's a lot of feminism, but also a lot of femininity.
Yeah.
And I guess what I'm getting at is it doesn't seem like they make much acknowledgement of, like, queerness, for example.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that is... Well, I don't really know. What do you think about that?
Because, like, there've maybe been, like, at least one openly queer K-pop idol, and then there's, like, been Yeonjun, who's, like, doing things for, like, the queer community where, like, she did the thing where she covered herself in paint and was talking about how, like, she supports the queer community.
Yeah, I remember you telling me about that.
And, like, there's also, like, this thing where there's probably many more, like, closeted queer,
sure.
like, trainees or idols that are, like, more scared to come out because, like, who knows what kind of criticism or, like, hate that they'll get. Because, like, there's just, like, the thing of being queer in general, and then there's, like, a queer K-pop idol is, like, even worse, I guess.
Well, you know, it might be interpreted as worse,
yeah.
But I suppose that's coming from a Korean cultural perspective,
yeah.
which I don't know much of anything about, so I don't want to criticize anyone, but it would make sense to me given that, like, I came of age in the 90s in the United States when there was definitely a lot of homophobia that was ingrained in the culture, which has not gone away entirely, of course.
Yeah.
I need to be clear about that, but it's certainly made major strides, especially in the pop music world. Like,
yeah.
It used to be, like, you know, I had peers when I was in high school who were, like, huge, like, female peers who were huge George Michael fans and had big crushes on George Michael, who at that time, I mean, he was always a gay man, but at that time he was closeted.
Yeah.
And remained closeted until, like, he was basically forced out of the closet. And, you know, I myself was, as we've stated, I'm a huge Queen fan. And, like, I can't think of anybody maybe more demonstratively expressing queerness through their performance than Freddie Mercury.
Yeah.
But even then, he never really acknowledged it or spoke about it openly, and nobody really wanted to talk about it, even though, like, in retrospect, it's completely obvious to our eyes now. But now we have all sorts of folks being out and proud, which is great in American pop music, but I could understand how that might be difficult still in some parts of the world.
Yeah, because, like, I myself am a queer person, and I've, like, thought before of, like, if I was, like, a K-pop idol, like, stuff like that, or, like, maybe I do want to be a K-pop idol, but that mean that I'd, like, have to be put into all, like, the pressure to do all these things, and, like, usually at a pretty young age.
Yeah.
Like, to, you know, like, be skinny, be fluent in Korean, and all these things that, like, you pretty much have to be, or, like, don't actually have to be, but it feels like you do.
Yeah, that is how things get changed, though, right? Is by people standing up to those harmful stereotypes or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, because, like, if I were to become a K-pop idol, it would probably be, like, a very rare chance because, like, I'm not South Korean. I'm queer. There's, like, I barely know Korean.
Sure.
And, like, there's also, like, you have to learn, like, Japanese and sometimes Chinese and, like, all other languages sometimes. And there's also, like, you know, the beauty standards that I'd have to fit in, and I don't want to do, like, plastic surgery or anything, because I could also be pressured into that.
Right.
And also, you barely get to see your family.
Yeah. A lot of people, I think, get lured in by the fame and fortune of it all, but there's definitely trade-offs that are required, and that's changed over time. But, like, pop music has a long history, as long as the history of pop music itself, of I'm saying queer as sort of a catch-all term, and I understand that that's maybe not accurate.
Yeah.
You know, but understand, like, what I mean is people throughout history have had to be willing to make the choice to hide who they truly are in order to pursue their goal of whether that is fame and fortune or artistic, success or whatever it may be. And for a long time, there have been people who said that they were willing to, hide that part of themselves in order to maintain their ability to connect with their fans. And I don't blame anybody for making that choice.
And also there's, like, the problem of safety, because there are quite a few, like, homophobic people and racist people that would, like, be willing to do very illegal things to people just because of who they are.
Yeah, and that's true everywhere, whether you're famous or not, but it also makes it that much more possible when you are a public figure. Anyway, I know that we kind of took that in a different direction, and
Yeah.
I think those are important conversations to have, but also...
This is a podcast about K-pop.
And I think it's relevant to K-pop, but
Yeah.
I thought that this particular group kind of lent itself to that conversation too, given that they seem to be very outspoken
Yeah.
about specifically feminism, but
Yeah.
feminism is about equality, and
Yeah.
that covers a lot of territory.
Yeah, and, like, another thing that, like, happens in K-pop, like, with the whole queer thing is a lot of people call K-pop gay. Because, like, there's, like, men wearing makeup and all these, like, traditionally feminine clothing and things like that. And, like, there's also the just relationships that they have with each other can be kind of questionable, but depends on the group, actually. I would sometimes, like, for example, TXT, they have a pretty close relationship with each other that might seem kind of gay.
Okay.
Which, like, I'm not trying to criticize them in any way or, like, make fun of them, because I'm a big TXT fan, but, like, I wouldn't be surprised if, like, there are many K-pop idols that are, like, not out, but, like, you can kind of tell. Just based on, like, their behavior and their relationship with, like, their other members and stuff like that.
Yeah, and again, it's up to the individual how they want to present themselves and how they want to identify themselves.
Yeah.
I believe that everybody should be allowed to and encouraged to express themselves however they want to be.
Yeah.
And identify themselves however they want to identify themselves. But I also don't think anyone should be pressured to speak personally when they're a public figure if they want privacy. People also deserve privacy. So I guess bottom line, just be cool, everybody. Everybody just be cool.
Yeah.
All right. I appreciate you talking about that with me. Mm-hmm. It's always good to talk about that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But when it comes to G-Idle, which is what we were talking about when this all started, let's talk about some songs that maybe I might want to listen to.
Do you have any written down?
I did write down a few names that you mentioned, and the ones that I wrote down were, I believe you said Queen Card, Nude, and Tomboy.
Actually, Nude is spelled with an X instead of a U.
That's good to know. That'll make it easier for me to find.
But yeah, the funny thing is, like, a lot of people think that the chorus in Queen Card is, like, full English, but it's actually not, because, it's, I'm a Queen Ka, no D, because it's in Korean.
Okay.
Because Queen Ka is usually, like, from what I can remember of somebody explaining it, it's, like, the equivalent of, like, what you would call somebody in, like, the Mean Girls movie.
Oh, okay.
And so it just, like, translates to Queen Card. I don't know what the card part of it is, but, like, I can kind of understand the Queen part.
Sure, the Queen part seems fairly self-evident, but
Yeah.
when you said Queen Card with a D,
Yeah.
I guess the place my mind went was, like, a deck of cards. There's
Yeah.
a card called the Queen,
Like
which...
the Queen of Hearts or something like
Right,
that.
exactly.
Like something
And so I was
Alice in
thinking
Wonderland related.
maybe it was like a metaphor for, like, playing your cards, like showing strength through, like there's lots of card games where a particular queen is like a very powerful card.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where my mind went. But I guess I'll go listen to the song and see if maybe that helps me understand what exactly they're talking about.
Also, like, another thing about Queen card is, like, actually most of G-Idle songs are, like, kind of makes me laugh when, like, non-K-pop fans listen to them. Because, like, they say the F word in Tomboy, except that they bleep it.
Okay.
But, like, sometimes they'll actually do say it. And, like, in Nude, the name is, like, kind of weird in general. It's just called Nude.
Yeah, even that.
And, like, they say it multiple times in the song.
It's interesting that you pointed out that the fact that it has an X in there, which almost seems like a sort of a bleep, like a sort of a censorship of the word.
Yeah. And also, like, the intro to it is, like, mostly what the song is about. And also there's, like, the start and the end of the song, I really like that part, because it's, like, full English, so you would be able to understand it. And, like, the end of it is, like, also really cool, because, like, one of the lines is, like, just speak out, but in Korean. But yeah, it's a cool song with a cool message. And with Queen card, they say, like, my boob and booty is hot.
Oh, okay.
Which, like, you know, sounds kind of weird. But it's, like, about being body positive and stuff like that.
Yeah. And
so, like,
that makes sense to me, but
I wonder why they only just say the one boob.
Maybe they like one better than the other. I don't know. But, you know, like, obviously there's always going to be some differences in translation, you know, and all that.
But that's in full English. Well, we were talking about songs to recommend.
Yeah.
Probably another song that I would recommend would be Han, in parentheses, Alone, specifically, because I believe there's, like, at least one or two of the songs called that with two N's. In full capital letters, two N's, Han.
Like HANN.
Yeah.
Parentheses, alone.
Yes.
Does Han mean something because I don't know. Like,
not that I know of. Maybe it does mean alone.
All right. The first thing I thought of when you said Han was Star Wars and then The Fast and the Furious.
Yeah.
The two most well-known Hans, in my opinion.
I was going to say Han Ji-sung from Stray Kids, a.k.a. Han.
All right. That's fine. I stand by my assumption that those other Hans are probably more well-known generally, but for the purposes of this podcast,
yeah,
that one counts as a very popular one also.
I do like Han from Fast and Furious. He was my favorite character, but then he died, and I was sad about that.
It's true.
Yes.
It was very sad. And I agree. He was a good character.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So that's a good list of songs for me to listen to.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have thoughts that you'd like to share about any of the stuff we talked about, maybe you have thoughts about the way that K-pop intersects with gender and sexuality like we talked about, or maybe you had thoughts on why Red Velvet were interviewing fruits.
Yeah.
Or anything else that we talked about, or anything else that's on your mind about K-pop, or
just questions about us, maybe.
Sure, stuff about us. You can even just
give us some support in a comment.
Yeah. Or maybe you just want some life advice. We'll help you with that too. Anything you want to talk about.
Yeah.
Lots of ways to get a hold of us.
Mm-hmm.
You can always comment on a YouTube video. You can send us an email at kpopforoldpeople@gmail.com. Other than that, I guess, thanks for listening, and we'll talk to you next time.
Annyeong.